In this video, we're going to go over home prices and answer the question, are home prices and values accelerating? We're also going to talk about supply and demand and how that is impacting home price appreciation today. Hi, I'm Tom Olsewski with Coldwell Banker and Team Olsewski. So we just finished up with the first quarter of 2022 and are heading into the second quarter. And truly, it's hard to believe that it was 2 years ago to the day that a worldwide pandemic really came upon us, swept through the nation, and fundamentally changed a lot of what we do. And housing certainly wasn't immune to that, you know. A lot of things have changed in the housing market. And I think one of the biggest things is the change in home price appreciation. So that's where I want to start today and really reflect on what's happened over the past couple of years. In 2020, CoreLogic said that we had 6% home appreciation throughout the year. And that's pretty significant if you think about it. Prior to the pandemic, a more normal year of home price appreciation was about 3.8%. So 6% is really significant. And you know, we all saw that continue and unfold in 2021 as we saw home price appreciation that was more than double that. So really significant home price appreciation over the past 2 years. And that is largely due to supply and demand. More buyers in the market than we've had homes available. So I want to walk through this and what it means going forward as we look at home price forecasts as well. And I think one of the best places to start is with a deep dive into home price appreciation last year. So the answer to the question, are home prices still accelerating, is yes. And we can look at this graph and see percent year-over-year price increases by month, going all the way back to 2021 to January of 2021. So if we look over on the left-hand side, in January of 2021, we saw 10% home price appreciation. So year-over-year from January of 2020 to January of 2021, home prices increased by 10%. And then as you can see, month over month, it really started to accelerate through the year. Now, when we hit the summer, you see July, August, and so forth, it started to level out at about 18%, still very significant home price appreciation. But that's when we started having the conversation and we started hearing experts saying, are home prices going to de-accelerate? Meaning to continue to increase, but just at a slower pace. And the reality of it is we saw that kind of 18% hold steady for a while and then into December and January of 2022, which we can see at the latest data we have. That green bar is showing that home prices are starting to tick back up. And that's again a direct result of high buyer demand and low supply. So buyers are really competing for homes, and that's causing home prices to tick up. Now, if we look at this on a state-by-state basis, this is a really interesting map. It shows changes in prices in the last year from FHFA. And this is really interesting because what we can see is that FHFA shows that the national average is 17.5% home price appreciation last year. Now, some states were higher, some states were lower. You can see that across the board. But the reality of it is we didn't have a depreciation in any state. Home prices were rising throughout the country. Again, a direct result of supply and demand. So where we can break this down even further, really interesting, is if we look at the past 5 years. National averages over the last 5 years was 54.5% home price appreciation. So its inventory is low and buyer demand is high. This is what we are starting to see year after year. is increasing home price appreciation. And that really exploded in 2021. But if you look back at the last 5 years, home price appreciation has been incredibly significant. Now, where this gets even more interesting is if we look at the past 30 years, so changes in prices since 1991, if you go all the way back 30 years, national average is 258% home price appreciation. That is massive. So this becomes a really important conversation for my clients who are saying, is now a good time to buy? Should I buy a home? And am I buying at the top of the market? Is my home investment going to be a valuable one? And if we can go back 30 years and we can look over time, I would ask the question, if you could go back and buy a house in 1991, would you do it? I think looking at this data, the answer is clear. Home prices have definitely appreciated in value and been historically a very strong investment. And you know, the question becomes, as people are trying to decide, but what's the next move going forward? What's going to happen throughout the rest of the year? We have to look at price forecasts for 2022. And this is a chart that we like to show a lot because it averages out what the experts are saying. We follow 7 key entities who forecast out home prices throughout the rest of the year. And when you average those together in the green bar, you can see they're projecting roughly 6.1% appreciation through the rest of this year, 2022. So CoreLogic is on the high end with 9.6%, Zelman's on the low end right now with 3%, but the reality of it is all of the experts are saying that home values are projected to continue increasing throughout the year. And that again, a direct result of supply and demand. And the reality of it is we are likely going to see these forecasted in an upward direction going forward as we continue to have low inventory on the market. You know, there's a nod towards more sellers coming to the market this spring and more new construction. And that could all ease some of this home price appreciation as more inventory is available. But what we're seeing is experts are all projected home prices to rise. So I want to stop here for a moment and talk about supply and demand, because you've heard me mention this several times, that the inventory and the supply and demand balance is really what determines where home prices go. And I think this next graph is a really good foundational element to start that conversation. And this is how the market impacts, or inventory impacts, home prices. So right now, we are squarely in what you would call a seller's market. We've all heard this, we've all felt this, and that's what you can see there over in the blue bar. Especially, it means more buyers in the market than homes available for sale. They're competing for homes, that's driving prices up. And that's the general law of supply and demand. Anytime there are more buyers for an item than there are people selling that item, prices will rise because people are willing to pay more for them. Now, in a neutral market is where this kind of balances out. And buyers' market is where there are more homes available than buyers interested in purchasing them. So that causes prices to decline. So we are in a seller's market today. And I think you know the question people want to know is, what does this mean from a listing perspective? When we look at the number of listings in the market, and I'll have videos specific to a couple of cities around us, we've heard that inventory is historically low. But what does that really look like? So I'm going to show you right now new listings, and they are actually falling dramatically right now. This is a look at 2021 month by month. New listings coming to the market in thousands. Yeah, this is national, but we reflect kind of similar numbers. And what you can really see over on the right side is October, November, December. Listings really started to decline once again. So not as many listings coming on the market towards the end of the year. Now, this is pretty typical for the housing market because we generally see listings softening in the winter and then picking back up in the spring. And you can see that, there's definitely followed that trend over the past year. So that brought us really to this historically low inventory. And what I'd like to show here is that active listings are also dropping again. So what we have again, October, November, and December, active listings falling towards the end of the year. And this means that homes are selling just as fast as they're coming to the market. So buyers are in high demand. There aren't enough homes on the market. They're not staying on the market. They're not staying active as listings because they're going into pending and sold quickly, especially if it's a nice home. So the reality is anytime we start to see inventory low like this and prices start to rise, we need to have a really important conversation to have with anyone who's potentially still renting right now and thinking about, I could buy a home, I'm thinking about it, but I'm watching prices rise, I'm not sure if I should buy right now. I'm concerned that there's a bubble. So the real reality is a conversation about net worth comparing a renter and a homeowner. I will cover this in detail in another video. So for now, that's it on home prices accelerating and supply and demand. And I hope this has been helpful. Thanks again, and remember, it's important who you work with.